Now, with this examples of secondary dominance, I don't want to lead you astray. Get it? Leading tone, leading you astray? Funny, right? Well, perhaps not. Moving on to the next chord, and that's exactly what secondary dominants do, my dear friends. They move us from one chord to the next. We can tonicize any note or any chord in the scale. So, for example, we can use the C sharp leading us to the D. It's a leading tone. C sharp to D. When we have A, C sharp, E, G, in this case the E is being omitted, but that C sharp leads us to the D, so we get 5, 7 of 2 leading to 2, because A, C sharp, E, G is a dominant quality, which implies dominant function, which would sound like this. You would get D reading up to Re. We could also tonicize the mediant, the 3. In this case, it would be the E minor chord, E, G, and B. In order to tonicize the E minor chord, we would need the leading tone of E, which is D sharp. So we'd get B, D sharp, and we'd get the A as well, which would sound like this. That D sharp leading us to E. So in context of C major, we could use the C chord, and going down to the -6, and then we could do the 5, 7 of 3, okay, so going along here to 6, instead of going directly from the submediant to the mediant, we tonicize the mediant, and then to the mediant. And then we could obviously from there go to the 4, 2, 6, 5, to the 5, 7, to the 1. This is an example of tonicizing the subdominant, which in the key of C is F, A, C. Here's the key of C, here's the subdominant. Now the only thing we have to do, this is so exciting, my friends, all we have to do in order to tonicize the 4 is take a tonic triad, C, E, G, and then flat the 7th above it. If we had C, E, G, B, that would be a major 7 chord. However, if we flat the B to B flat, that is a dominant quality, implying dominant function, the B flat leading us downward to the F. And you're saying, well, where's the leading tone? We don't need to alter the leading tone, right? Because it's already there. The E is a diatonic note in the key of C, and the E leads us up by half step to F. So if we're going along in the key of C, instead of going directly from C to F, the dominant tonic to the subdominant, we can tonicize the subdominant with the B flat. B flat! And then we can go back to the G, to C chord. The most common used secondary dominant is the dominant of the dominant. Dominant of the dominant, you say? That doesn't make any sense. Well, of course it does. The dominant of the key of C is G. G, B, D creates a major 5 chord in the key of C. Now, how would we get to G? Well, with an F sharp, of course, because in the key of G there is one sharp. F sharp is the leading tone to G. So when we get D, F sharp, A, and C, that provides us with a dominant quality, which is dominant function. You say, well, we can't call it 2-7. No, once again, we don't call it a 2-7, we call it a 5-7 because it implies dominant function. But it's not a 5-7 in the key of C, it's a 5-7 in the key of G. And G is the dominant of C. Therefore, we get dominant of the dominant. 5-7 in the key of G. So going along in the key of C, to the subdominant, 5-7 of 5, to the 5, which can go 7, 2, 1. And finally, we can do the 5-7 of the submediant, which in the key of C is A minor, A, C, E. How do we get to A minor? Leading tone, G, just G sharp, which is exactly what we would do if we were to do the harmonic minor. But in this case, we're doing E, G sharp, B, D, which is a dominant quality, therefore dominant function. E7, resolving to A in the key of C is 5/7 of 6, resolving to the 6, the submediant. Tonicizing the submediant. So if we're going in the key of C, instead of just going to a 4/5 deceptive cadence, you can decorate up the deceptive cadence. It's like a deception of a deception, going from C to the subdominant F, leading us one way, but then the submediant tonicization to the 6, then to the 3, then to the 4, then we can do 5/7 of 5, and then to the 5/7, and finally we get our tonic chord. So here are all of these secondary dominants in order, from the supertonic to the mediant to the subdominant to the dominant to the submediant. Here is the 5/7 of 2 resolving to 2. 5/7 of 3 resolving to the 3. 5/7 of 4 resolving to the 4. 5/7 of 5 resolving to the 5. And the 5/7 of 6 resolving to the 6. Isn't that fantastic? Secondary dominants, they give you such a new quality to use, a new style, a new flavor to add to your bland diatonic chords. How excited are you? I'm sure so excited that you want us to see this in context of an actual piece. What a concept! So we can use harmonic analysis using the tonic chord, the secondary dominant, in this case, in second inversion, the 5/4-3 of 5, going to the dominant to tonic. So we have C, going to the 5/4-3 of 5, secondary function, resolving to the 5/7, the passing 7th, F natural, going to the tonic. Here's a melody that you may be familiar. I like to build the world, a home and furnish it with love. Oh, isn't that nice? Now, if we were to harmonize that, one of the ways you could do the furnish is to just use a 2/6 chord, but that's a little bit boring, because we would just have this when we go to F. And if we wanted to use a 2/6 chord here, we could use a G minor triad, then to the 5, then to the 4. But instead, listen to that furnish chord. We're going to furnish that chord with a B natural, creating a 5/7 of 7. Listen to the difference. Before, we had a 2 chord, G minor. Instead, we use the B natural, 5/7 of 5. And then to the 5. That would be what type of phrase? Yes, that's right, an antecedent phrase, because it ends on the dominant. And then we could have a parallel period that would be the exact same start, but then instead of resolving here, would go to the plagal cadence, which would end on tonic. Which would be a consequent phrase. Here are some examples of ways you can use inversions of secondary dominants. As you can see here, we have a D major tonality, starting and ending with a D major triad. Why do we have that D natural? Because in that same measure, we have a D sharp, which leads us chromatically from the 1 to the 2. And instead of going just directly from 1 to 2, we tonicize the 2, 5/6 of 2, the leading tone of E in the bass, which gives us 5/6. And I think we would all agree that sounds much nicer. Going directly to the 2, boring. Tonicizing the 2. Oh, wonderful. We can even do a 5/6/5 of 2, which would add even another color to our composition. Which would give us this sound. We could even do a 5/5, which would be an E7. Sorry, and then to the 1. What you're basically doing is just delaying the resolution, okay? As we have seen that easy chord progressions can sometimes sound a bit bland, and secondary dominant function clearly gives you a new color to play with. There's the 2, going to 5/7 of 5. And then to the 5, and then 5/7, and then to the 1 with a suspension. Now I know that many of you may think that in the summertime I simply look at musical theory examples and analyze music all summer. Well, although there are times when I'm climbing my mountains that I do think of music, because music is all around us, and I find inspiration in the mountains and ways to think of new creative ways of teaching music. However, I do not just sit in my living room and analyze secondary dominant function all summer. And just to make sure that you are paying attention and watching this entire video, I would like for you to record down on your paper all the places where I'm traveling to this summer. Mount Evans and Grays and Torreys Peak in Colorado, Aspen, Mount Elbert. Mount Elbert's the highest peak in Colorado, and Great Sand Dunes National Park. Then we're going to Utah to experience the Arches National Park, and Bryce Canyon and Zion National Park, and ending in the Grand Canyon.